Hi, my name is Grisha Patel, and I'm going to be talking about the development of schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a mental disorder characterized by abnormal social behavior and failure to understand what is real. Common symptoms include false beliefs, unclear or confused thinking, hearing voices that others do not hear, reduced social engagement, emotional expression, and a lack of motivation. A lot of schizophrenic people usually think that people are talking about them. They're very scared. They are very paranoid, they don't trust anyone, and they don't have anyone to rely on. They usually the person they trust is someone very close to them, and it's very hard for someone who's schizophrenic to even be open to the world. And um when we look back, schizophrenia usually first appears between the late teens and mid 30s. Many sufferers experience three phases. Like the first one is prodromal, beginning of deterioration and mild symptoms. This is where this is where you can be misdiagnosed. It could be another disorder. It could be schizophrenia. You don't know that because a lot of other disorders are mixed not diagnosed to schizophrenia because they jump to conclusions. So that's what they think they are. The second lab phase is active. Symptoms become more apparent, so you can see more of the symptoms. You can see that this person is scared. This person is confused of thinking and stuff. And the third one is residual, a return of predominal like levels, where like it's confirmed, it's said like this is schizophrenia. This is all the symptoms that are happening. They're able to tell. Usually, each of these phases of disorders may last for days or years, and a fuller recovery for the disorder is most likely in people with good pre-morb functioning, whose disorder was triggered by stress, who received early treatment. Usually, if you're able to tell it's schizophrenia in early on stage, it's very easy. It's easier to treat. It may not all go away because it is very hard for someone who's schizophrenic to like be unafraid of like everything. That's like saying, oh, when you have a fear, be unafraid of it. But like, how do you become unafraid of a fear when you don't even know what's the problem? You know? That's like me saying, "Oh, I'm scared of bugs." But I don't know where that fear started. So un how am I supposed to be unafraid of it? And that's exactly what schizophrenia. Some people don't know the main situation of schizophrenia. So it's very hard to tell who, what the main cause of schizophrenia is. Um there are there are social theorists in the days. Um They believe that there's three main social forces contribute to schizophrenia: multicultural factors, social labeling, and family dysfunction. Although these forces are considered important in development of schizophrenia, research has not yet clarified what their precise causal relationships might be to schizophrenia. So let's talk about multicultural factors. In multicultural factors, this disorder is found in all cultures, races, genders, and is equally effective to all of them. Rates of the disorder differ between racial and ethnic groups. As many as 2.1% of African Americans are diagnosed, compared with the 1.4% of Caucasians. Sorry. One possibility to explain this finding is that African Americans are more prone to develop the disorder. Yet another explanation may lie in the economic sphere. African Americans are more likely to be poor, and when economic differences are controlled for rates of schizophrenia become closer. So usually the stress of poverty causes someone to become schizophrenic. And that's more seen because when you're poor, you have so many stress, you have so many reasons to become stressed, and that's what causes you to develop symptoms like schizophrenia symptoms. And it has a consistence with the economic explanation. Hispanic Americans, who are also on average economically disadvantaged, appear to have a much higher likelihood of being diagnosed than white Americans. Rates also differ between countries, as do the course and outcome of the disorder. Some theorists believe that differences partly reflect genetic differences from population to population. Others argue that the psychosocial environments of developing countries tend to be more supportive than developed countries, leading to more favorable outcomes for people with schizophrenia. Usually, when you see schizophrenic, it happens it happens everywhere. It's it's not like it doesn't have one race to hit. Like it's not in one race. It's very equal. And that's why I put up this picture. Because I want you to see that it happens in boys and girls, all different races. You can be whoever, you can be located wherever in the world, and you can have schizophrenia. It's very likely to. Because you don't know how it's gonna develop. It's very hard to even diagnose schizophrenia. Next, we're going to talk about social labeling. And social labeling is when many social culture theorists believe that the feature of schizophrenia are influenced by the diagnosis itself. Social label people who fail to conform to certain norms of behavior, whereas in someone who doesn't act a certain way is weird or is crazy or is not normal. Basically, that's what's seen. And once assigned, the label becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The dangers of social labeling has been well demonstrated, and a lot think that schizophrenia should be abolished because as a concept because it is unscientific and does not address the root cause of serious mental illness. And this diagnosis, which emerged in the 19th century, is flawed and harmful, and it's not only grouped together patients with widely ranged symptoms but offered no explanation for the illness. It's You're basically diagnosing a schizophrenic person was labeled an incurable social misfit in place of the mercy of a psychiatric system that most benefited the drug industry. Um, it's said, but the concept of schizophrenia has a number of severe negative consequences. The concept is scientifically meaningless. It groups together a whole range of different problems under one label. It also assumes that there a clear dividing line between those who are sane and those who are mad. And it also shows that both of these assumptions are false. When you're social labeling something, it's very hard for someone who's schizophrenic to hear that there's schizophrenia. They know it, they don't want to hear it from someone else. They know they are. It's already hard for them to even understand it. They're already paranoid and they have a paranoia, and when someone else is saying that to them, it even gets them more scared. It's like, oh, they're talking about me, they're talking something bad about me, and they're so restless. Schizophrenic people are so restless. They have no control over that. And it's sad because that's like me saying, "Oh, I'm going to label you because you're weird, you're crazy, you're not normal." That's like saying that's crazy. That's like when we go into school, high school, middle school, elementary school, you see there's popular people, there's jocks, there's the sporty ones, there's the other athletic ones, the nerds, there's all different type of there's all these different type of groups, and it's very upsetting to see that they're labeled as this certain they're as this certain group. That's social labeling. You're labeling someone something that doesn't even need to be labeled, that has no scientific reason behind it. And this is a picture. I put this picture up because it's basically showing that these two people are basically labeling him as schizophrenic, even if he may not be schizophrenic. It says it's outrageous to be labeling people bonkers in this day and age. Put this one on instead. So instead of labeling him crazy, they're going to label him schizophrenic, even if he might not be. Just because he acts a little bit different, he's schizophrenic. Just because someone doesn't act the way they are, it's schizophrenic. People in this society nowadays, people are so jumping to conclusions that it's crazy. This is how people are misdiagnosed with schizophrenia because they jump to conclusions, they jump to assumptions, and it's not okay. The third thing that we're going to talk about is family dysfunction, whereas in one of the best known family theories of schizophrenia focuses on double bind communication. Some parents repeatedly communicate pairs of mutual contradiction messages that place the child in so called double bind situations. The child cannot avoid displeasing the parent because nothing the child does is right. So that's like saying, basically, let's take this into consideration, as in a Indian family wants their child to get A's. The child gets a 95, but in the Indian parents' eyes, 100 is an A. 100 is what you're supposed to get. So then they talk about the double bind communications. It's a hypothesis, is a theory that some parents repeatedly communicate pairs of messages. And, oh, even if you do this, like, I still don't think you're gonna be right. Like, I still don't think you're gonna be good enough for us. Like, that's what the child thinks. Like, I may do so much for my parents, but I'm not good enough for them. The double bind messages typically consist of primary verbal communication and is accompanied contradictory nonverbal metacommunication. According to the double bind theory, a child repeatedly exposes these communications will adopt a special strategy for coping with them and may progress towards paranoid schizophrenia. This theory is closely related to psychodynamic notions of schizophrenogenic mother. A number of studies suggest that schizophrenia is often linked to family stress. Parents of people with the disorder often display more conflict, have greater difficulties communicating, are more critical of and over involved with children than other parents. So usually schizophrenia usually happens, as they say during the studies that they do, because of family stress. Yes, that is right. Because a lot of parents fight in front of their kids. They don't care that they're fighting in front of their kids. It's very hard for the kid to even cope that. Like, they're so young that they're watching their parents fight. They're becoming paranoid. They're becoming scared. Some conversations do lead to more advanced things, and it's very hard for a child to understand that. And I showed a person who's very schizophrenic. This is how schizophrenia is. Someone who looks like this usually is schizophrenic, and it's very hard for them to even deal with like anything. Like, they always think that there's other things happening that they can't just relax. They're not relaxed ever. And it's so hard for schizophrenic people to even be able to be open with the world. And it's it's sad. It's very sad to see that other people look at these people as in they're weird. No, it's totally okay to be different. Yes, this is a disorder. Yes, this has to be treated, but it is okay to be this type of person.